if you ask me like, oh, what's your 5-year plan? Oh, what's your 10-year plan? I'll be like, I don't know. And I think the reasoning for that has always been I don't want to set unrealistic expectations for myself that I can't meet. But rather than, you know, being stressed out by these goals or these like markers that I want to hit, I think I'm trying to take on more of a mindset of, hey, good job trying. Good job. Like, you are a hardworking, resilient person, right? Hi cookies, it is Hannah, your host, and we are back for yet another episode of BULGOGI Pod. As you can see, this is another solo episode, so tune in. We're going to be talking a little bit about just some mid-year reflections, but before that, let's get into our segment, things I've been hyper fixated on. I had a little bit of a freak out a few months ago because my hair was like tied up or whatever, and I started to notice that I have like a lot of baby hairs on the like bottom part of my neck, like the nape of my neck, and I couldn't tell if that was like growth or if that was breakage. And so I was, you know, I've always had like kind of thin hair, like compared to my sister, like she has literally 3 times the hair as I do. And so I've just like always been a little bit concerned. And so I actually got this recommendation from TikTok, and I think it's helped a lot, like a lot. And so it is the uemura Art of Hair Izumi tonic. So it's a strengthening, energizing water. It's made with rice water. They have like an entire line dedicated to their products made with rice water. But I just like, after I hop out of the shower, my hair is wet, right? Like I towel dry a little bit and then I spray it all over, and I always dry my hair. Like, one thing about me, and I don't know like where this started, but you will rarely, like maybe 2% of the time, see me with wet hair in public, just because like I think I've learned how bad it is for you to have wet hair. I'll spend 15 minutes to dry my hair, and so that has actually helped a lot. I do think that my texture is like, maybe, I don't want to say frizzier, maybe she's like a little curly whirly wavy. Like, it's helped me retain the hair that I have, right? Because like that's one thing that I've heard about hair loss, is that like rather than focusing on like growing new hair, which I don't know if that like actually happens, you should focus on like keeping the hair that you have. And so yeah, the uemura tonic has been really, really good, really helpful. She's a little pricey, but that's just one thing that like I think like I was getting stressed out about. And you know how like when you start stressing out over something and then it like makes that thing worse, like, oh, I'm breaking out, and then you're freaking out that you're breaking out, and then you break out more. And so you know, just to like kind of get rid of it being on my mind all the time, I was like, let's do something about it. So highly recommend that. Oh, also, let's do a little fit check. I'm wearing my Brother tee. So if you guys don't know what Brother is, they are a small shop based out of West Adams in Los Angeles. And so yeah, they have like specially curated designer items. So they carry like engineered garments, Solomons, all the good stuff, as well as their like in-house stuff. So got this tee, I think like maybe like 2 or 3 summers ago. And if you guys have seen, like, they have an iconic like 5-panel hat, and so whenever I see someone in it, I'm like, you know what's up. So yeah, check out Brother. And then next on the list, also a hair care item. As you guys can tell, I've been really focused on my hair, and so this was also recommended on TikTok, and it's the Gem Lights conditioner with Bond Fix in the color ruby red. And so basically what it is a conditioner with semi-permanent hair dye. Just because like I dyed my hair before I went to Korea, like months ago. Oh, it was right around Coachella time, so like in April, and my hair dye just like kind of came out quickly, and so right, I was like, I'm not trying to spend that money going back to the hair salon. And I was like, let me just try this, like just see what it's about. Dude, literally more people are commenting like, oh, did you dye your hair now than when I actually dyed it? Like this, it's semi-permanent hair dye, it's plant-based, it's clean beauty, and so this was way cheaper than going to the hair salon, and I don't think that it's impacted, maybe it has impacted the texture of my hair and my hair health, because she do be a little frizzy, feeling a little dead, but maybe I just need to like incorporate a mask or something. And so highly recommend that. And then third and final recommendation, or third and final thing I've been hyper fixated on lately, is the Huberman Lab. If you guys don't already know, Huberman Lab is like probably one of my favorite podcasts. It is like 2 hours long. Like every single episode is pretty lengthy, but it's hosted by Andrew Huberman, who is a professor at Stanford in neurobiology as well as ophthalmology. And he's like this like huge dude. Like you would expect him to be, you know, a little scrawny, like a little professor-y, but no, he does martial arts and is really into like health and fitness. I was watching a clip and apparently he does neck exercises. Like will literally go to the gym, put a weight on his head and lift the weight with his neck, because that's how important it is to have neck strength. But okay, tangent. Anyways, he recently released an episode and it is called How to Enhance Performance and Learning by Applying a Growth Mindset. And I feel like a revived human being. And then I just like went down. Like I listened to so many of his episodes this week. Shout out Diane for the recommendation. I've literally been like nonstop recommending it to the people around me as well. Like told my mom about it, I told my dad, I told my sister, and my dad was like, wow, this is like revolutionary. And so yeah, I would highly recommend his podcast. I like respect him so much as a human being, and also as an educator, right? His mission is to provide like free access to science-based tools. And so I love him. And so I highly recommend that. I think, dude, I saw on TikTok, there was a video and someone was like, oh, I'm just like, my Huberman husband, right? And I was like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a Huberman husband. Like, I want to go outside for 20 minutes right in the morning and stare at the sun. Like, I want to take an ice bath whenever I, I'm feeling like anxious or I need a boost of like energy. I have been waiting 60 to 90 minutes to drink my coffee in the morning. Like, I am like fully on this health kick, health grind. I've even been like taking walks or like trying to like walk around after I eat, and more than anything, like I just like feel better about myself. I haven't been doing any of these things like long enough to see an actual difference, but knowing that like all of this advice came directly from him and the professors and professionals that he has on his podcast, like just makes it a very like trusting experience. And so yeah, I highly recommend that. But yeah, you know how we were just talking about growth mindset and just mindsets in general? I think today something that's been on my mind has just been like doing a check-in with you guys. So I have my little notebook here. It is moleskin, and it's funny because I like started this notebook like end of last year, and like the first words I wrote were like, damn, kind of scary to be starting an unlined notebook, like literally unlined. Who am I? And I think like I took that as like a metaphor for like how I want to view this year, right? Because I think that one thing I have kind of beat myself up for in the past is not being a planner. And so, right, I'm not the type, if you ask me like, oh, what's your 5-year plan? Oh, what's your 10-year plan? I'll be like, I don't know. And I think the reasoning for that has always been that I don't want to set unrealistic expectations for myself that I can't meet. But in listening to this most recent episode of Huberman, one thing that I have been like working on is, rather than, you know, being stressed out by these goals or these like markers that I want to hit, I think I'm trying to take on more of a mindset of, hey, good job trying, good job, like you are a hardworking, resilient person, right? Because for so long, I think that, you know, throughout my childhood, and don't get me wrong, I do not in the slightest blame my parents for this. Like, my parents raised me to the best of their ability with the sources and the tools that they had available to them at that time. And so I'm not blaming my parents. That is not it. But I think that growing up, I was raised being told that I'm smart and I'm intelligent. And basically what happens is that when children are praised like that, anything that goes against that ideology. So like if I did bad on a test, I would equate that to not being smart. So it was just as it was more detrimental than if you were to praise a child based on their effort. And so one of the ways that I have been talking to myself has been in a more effort-based voice. And so, like, for example, right, I have been getting kind of bored with the gym. Don't know what it is. I think I've just been going for too long and I haven't changed up my routine, and like I am just bored. I like love novelty, right? And so I've been kind of like laying off. I've been going on more walks, but walking in this summertime heat has been so hard. Like, I don't think you guys understand. I literally changed my cover screen, my lock screen on my phone to this image. What does that say? It says, I am not heat wave psychosis. And so, yeah, basically, like, these walks, like, I've just been getting pissed off because it's so hot. And so, right, of course, after, like, the first day, walking in the sun for, like, 10 minutes, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I've been actually trying to, like, follow through on the things that I say I, like, want to do and I want to incorporate into my life, like, that new habits that I want to build. And so, literally, whenever I go on a walk, I'm like, good job, Hannah. I'm like, look at you, like, making the effort. Like, even if, let's say the goal is like a 20-minute walk, if I make it to 15 minutes, I'm like, you did way more than 0. Like, this was better than staying at home in the AC. Was it? Yes. But actually though, like, I think taking on this new mindset of let's reward the effort and the hard work and the resilience rather than equating it to anything else has been life-changing. And going back to my unlined notebook, what a great metaphor for life, in that actually in high school, so I used to have this like crazy calculus teacher, or was it pre-calc? I don't even remember anymore. Like, I never understood him. He was like Korean and super strict, like one of the most stoic, like classic typical Korean men you would ever meet, like just very like emotionless in a strange way. And one thing he would always say is like the unknown. And so what he meant by that is like, you don't even know what you don't know, which is like the most potentially, quote, dangerous part of things. And I think like years after I took that class, like literally, like maybe like 4 or 5 years, I realized what he meant. And that is that there's so much out there that we are going to experience and have to deal with that we don't see coming. You know, for a lot of people, including me, I think that causes like a lot of anxiety and potential like fear, right? Of just like, I can't believe we don't have like control over our lives. But I think one thing that I'm kind of like proud about is that I have learned to embrace the unknown and like embrace the uncertainty of things, right? Because maybe this is me making an excuse for not making 5-year plans, but right, like even if I do make a 5-year plan, it's probably not going to go exactly the way I envisioned it, right? And so I think some of the traits that are like most important to me are like adaptability, right? And it's almost like it's not that serious trait. When life doesn't go the way we plan, when careers don't work out like we foresee them to, or relationships don't last when we thought we were gonna marry this person, I think like all of those, it's not life like attacking you, it's just that's how life went. And being in the positions that we are in, it's our job to just do our best in both acknowledging our feelings and doing the work to heal from those experiences and move on, right? And so I think there's potentially a lot of friction, right? When things don't go the way that we plan. Of course, like you are entitled to feel stressed out about it, like feel your feelings. I'm a huge advocate for that, just because I believe like I have personally done so much suppressing in my life that it always ends up manifesting in other ways. And so now I'm at a point where if I'm angry, I'm like, I'm gonna be angry, right? And like it's about like finding those healthy outlets, but then also making sure to not dwell in things, right? Like of course there is a fine balance in like letting yourself feel those emotions, but also like let's make sure you're not victimizing yourself. Like let's make sure you're not like in a woe is me attitude for too long, right? Like you deserve it for however long you think is acceptable, but I think there comes a point where the only person that can pull you out of hard experiences and whatnot is yourself, right? Like I think it really is about like willingness, but also acknowledging your feelings. So that is like a really big balance. But yeah, I think I used to be like ultra upset, like ultra stressed out when, let's say, I had like a conflict I had to deal with, right? Like ultra just worked up. Like people were like, some of my friends, like they're my friends, right? They're my close friends, so they can say this, but they would just be like, oh, like your life is very dramatic, or like you make your life very dramatic. And that wasn't in an invalidating way, because I didn't take it in an invalidating way, but it was like, oh yeah, everything that happens in my life is like a little bit like blown up, right? I like a little bit of drama, admittedly, but I think after like so many years of that, like so many years of me not having emotional boundaries and like taking on like, for example, like my sister's problems as my own, like it can be a little exhausting. And so in learning how to have boundaries, in learning how to like accept the unknown, I think life has felt like at ease, right? Like that's one thing I think I'm like constantly striving for, is like a life of ease. And that doesn't mean like I'm not putting myself in uncomfortable situations. That doesn't mean like I am like running away from hard things. By that, I mean like the things that I do experience, I try to make it like as frictionless as possible. And so I think that is like one major check-in that I'm having for, this half of the year. And then some of the other thoughts about uncertainty that I have been having. I think, right, when we're younger, we like look at our 20s and it's like, by the time I'm 27, I'm gonna be married, this is what my wedding is gonna look like, I'm gonna date my boyfriend for so and so years, we're gonna live in this place, let's buy a house, like I want this many kids, I'm gonna have a dog named this. Like there are so many things that we like plan for ourselves, right? And then I think like slowly as we get older, specifically for me, like right at 23 years old, I was like, oh, we're going through a pandemic. And it was like, oh, I'm not in a relationship anymore. And then it was like, oh, all my friends are dating. Oh, just kidding. They thought they were going to get married. No, they broke up. And so I think, like, right, in a strange way, having other people like plan their lives a certain way and it not go the way that they planned is like just confirmation that like nobody knows what they're doing, nobody knows what's going on, and everyone's just like rolling with the punches, right? Like, one thing that I think I always say is like, our parents didn't know what they were doing. They were just bullshitting till they got somewhere. And so I think, like, you know, seeing the people around me, though I'm really trying not to wish them like harm. Like, of course, I don't want someone who thinks they're going to get married to break up with that person. But like, in a strange way, it's like, oh, even if you like want something really badly, even if you think this is like how your life is supposed to go and turn out, like, there's just like so many examples of life just doing what it wants, of the universe and God and whatever you believe in just doing what it wants. And so it's almost like I like find solace in that now. Like, I think I've just like am really trying to embrace like the things that are meant for you will not pass you by, and the things that are like, they like, if it's a person, like, they will cross your path. Right? Like, there's so many examples of people like talking to their partners like, why weren't you like in my life before? And like, they find like a previous photo or something that they were in the background. Like, there are so many examples of that. And so yeah, I think there is like beauty and like acceptance. I think there's like beauty and like the unknown, and like also like a world of opportunities when things don't like go as planned, right? Like, I think like we are so comfortable in like the things that we're used to and the things that we know, and so as soon as you like let go of that, like, it's like such a like sigh of relief of just, my life could be anything. Like, I could like turn my life around tomorrow, and like, cool. Like, if you feel stuck, cool. If you don't feel stuck and then like all this stuff happens, like, maybe you were stuck and you didn't know it, you know? And so yeah, I think there's just like so much beauty in uncertainty. And even when it doesn't feel beautiful, when the uncertainty doesn't feel beautiful, I'm a firm believer in like, everything happens for a reason. Like, you may not know it now, but you'll probably know later, right? Like, in hindsight, everything is 2020, because it's like all the hardest experiences that I've had to deal with, like all the hard conversations and like tears and emotions that I've ever experienced in my life, even like passings of loved ones. Like, of course, I don't wish all those things on anyone, but I think like those are the experiences that like make you who you are. And so I say just embrace them. And so yeah, I guess that's just kind of the lesson of today is embrace uncertainty. There's beauty in uncertainty. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and like, subscribe, comment on YouTube. I read all the YouTube comments. Shout out to my sister for always commenting. Love you so much. And please go ahead and rate us 5 stars on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as that really helps us out. And yeah, if you guys want to follow our social media, please go ahead and do that as well. But this has been another episode of BULGOGI Pod. I am Hannah, and I hope you all have a beautiful week. Okay, bye.